Breaking news, the Atlanta Falcons just revealed their future plans. And in this video, I'm going to break down what this means for the Atlanta Falcons going forward in regards to drafts, in regards to free agency, and in regards to roster makeup in the future. Now, if you hadn't heard, the NFL owners and coaches annual meeting just occurred today, where a lot of media had the opportunity to ask Raheem Morris and owner Arthur Blank a lot of questions, and there was a lot that was said that if you can kind of read between the lines, it shows what's going on in the future and what the plan is for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I first want to read you a tweet by D. Orlando, or D-Led is what they call him, D. Orlando Ledbetter, and he basically he's talking to owner, in this case, Arthur Blank. And the tweet says this: Falcons owner Arthur Blank said the draft will be focused on defense. If there's a person that knows the draft plan, it is Arthur Blank. And as you can see right here, this kind of goes with majority of the media responses to the Atlanta Falcons, and basically it says the Atlanta Falcons are going to go all in on defense. Now, I'm not saying they're going to take their 5 or 6 picks and not draft an offensive player, but this says right here, coming out of the horse's mouth, Arthur Blank, that the Atlanta Falcons are going to focus on defense. Now, this is kind of opposing to a recent report that showed that the Atlanta Falcons were talking to offensive tackles, but this solidifies the fact that the Atlanta Falcons will probably be going heavy on defense. Moving on to the next tweet. So we found out the Atlanta Falcons are going defense. Something else that was extremely important that was said, and that was talking about Kirk Cousins and his return to the Atlanta Falcons. And basically, this tweet that says this: Morris on Cousins, and this is by Mark Raymondati. He says, Morris on Cousins. I know exactly who he is. There's definitely a human side when we want to see him go out and be the best version of himself. This is not a thing where we're holding you back. If the opportunity presents itself into something that's good for both of us, that's good for the Falcons and good for Kirk, we certainly like to see that happen. Sorry, I struggled to read that. So this essentially says the Atlanta Falcons are not only interested in trading Kirk, which is the first time we're hearing this, but to me, this signals at the fact that the Atlanta Falcons have been talking about trading Kirk, and there potentially is a deal in the making. If both sides agree that, hey, we want to do what's best for both of us, this means Kirk Cousins is going to be moved, because Kirk Cousins has already expressed he wants to be a starter for another team, and there's several other people who believe he can be the starter for the Cleveland Browns. And the Atlanta Falcons want to do what's best for them, and that's retain draft capital. And if both can happen, then I would not be surprised if there was a trade for Kirk Cousins. This also can be complemented by the Diana Rossini tweet and conversation she had today, where she's hearing around the league that Kirk Cousins will become a Cleveland Brown. She doesn't know when that could happen, but she's hearing more and more. I think she says in the tweet, where there's smoke, there's fire, that Kirk Cousins may become more of a Cleveland Brown here soon. So that's good news for the Atlanta Falcons. Moving on. So we've heard that the Atlanta Falcons are focusing on defense. We've heard Kirk Cousins is probably going to be traded. Another tweet that came up is the idea of Ryan Newsel and who's going to be our starting center for the Atlanta Falcons going forward. And this is again by D-Led, or Dr. Orlando Ledbetter. He says, talk to GM Terry Fontenot in the lobby, and he confirmed that Ryan Newsel is C1 for the Atlanta Falcons. Ryan Newsel is starting. This puts to bed any questions about either bringing in a free agent such as David Andrews, or basically bringing in another player. Ryan Newsel is the guy that they're relying on and that they're trusting in going forward, and we see that in this tweet, but also in the conversation with Terry Fontenot. They want to start. This showcases that the idea that they want to start kind of building this roster out and getting an idea of what's going on, and pretty much basically stating that Ryan Newsel is our going forward can also build confidence in Ryan Newsel and allow him to take reps as we continue to see not only free agency period come to an end, but mini camp comes up. We want to see who's going to be that guy starting. And Terry Fontenot came out and said Ryan Newsel is that guy. Continuing on, Talking about OTAs and Kirk Cousins again, the Atlanta Falcons basically say, or they expect that Kirk Cousins is not going to be at voluntary OTAs. This can be found in a tweet by Mark Raimondi. Again, Falcons coach Raheem Morris does not expect QB Kirk Cousins to be at the OTAs. I'm not going to be foolish to think that he's going to show up to voluntary work. This further showcases the idea that Kirk Cousins is probably going to be gone. And the fact is, you don't want Kirk Cousins on your team if he's not going to show up to voluntary workouts. So find a way to make a deal happen for Kirk Cousins and the Cleveland Browns, because apparently they both have interest in each other. Continuing on. This one was actually pretty big as well. Talking about the defense, talking about not only them drafting pretty much all defensive players, but what's going on in the secondary. Now, a tweet by Dr. Orlando Ledbetter said this: Falcons coach Raheem Morris said Mike Hughes can go inside and outside. Clark Phillips III can go inside and outside. We're going to give it a rip inside for Phillips, Morris said. Something he's working on right now. Nickelback D. Alford was noted to be re-signed. Essentially, this says right here, in my opinion, the Atlanta Falcons probably aren't going to draft a cornerback with their first round pick if they've already decided that, hey, Mike Hughes and D. Alford, not D. Alford, but Clark Phillips can go in and out, basically allowing them to be flexible, so to speak. This also says they have players, in my opinion. They say they have players to play those positions. If anything, we don't necessarily need it. Now, if a guy falls to us at a great value, then we'll pick a corner. But this basically says to me, they're interested in keeping those guys and playing those guys that they have on the roster already. And I would not expect them to get a first-round corner, especially after the comment today saying they have guys that can play both in and outside. Continuing on, last but not least, talking about the Atlanta Falcons, and it just continues to come back in regards to the Kirk Cousins thing. The fact of the matter is, Kirk Cousins, I honestly believe, will be traded. Everything today kind of hinted at the fact that the Atlanta Falcons are not only open to trading Kirk Cousins, but they've had discussions regarding trading Kirk Cousins. And if everything falls in line, which I think they kept saying today, if everything falls in lines and both parties are happy with the deal, then they'll trade him. This goes opposite of what they said leading up to this point, saying we want to retain Kirk Cousins as our backup. But Kirk Cousins is on the move. I think it will be either at draft day or after. That's what most people are saying, because Kirk Cousins wants to wait to see who the Cleveland Browns select. But at the end of the day, there was a lot said. Kirk Cousins will probably be moved. The Atlanta Falcons are focusing on defense and honestly probably won't draft a cornerback in round one, especially them highlighting the guys that they have on the roster. Also, I will say this one more time too. The Atlanta Falcons know that they screwed up last year. They know that they need to have success this year. Arthur Blank came out and said that. Terry Fontenot has said that. And Raheem Morris has said that. So the pressure to win this year is at an elevated level. And we've seen that. And like I said, the interview with Terry Fontenot, but also the interview with Raheem Morris and Arthur Blank. So a lot that was said. I think the direction is defense, defense, defense. Kirk Cousins is gone. They got some cornerbacks on the team that they like. And then draft, they're going to go heavy on the defensive line and maybe linebacker spot and maybe safety. But if you agree or disagree, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the direction of the Atlanta Falcons. And also, if you like this hat right here, it's the Great Barrier Thief. Shout out to Dyson Daniels. And you want to pick up one of these, the link is down below. Go ahead and get you one right now. It's cool, stylish, it looks good. It is shouting out to the best defensive player in the league right now, Dyson Daniels. So pick that up in the link below. But like always, peace.